Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I have an update for my G. You watched the video where I have the Holley on it, and I was just smashing some gears and spinning off the rears here. So, I didn't really film when I swapped it. It was a spontaneous thing in the middle of the night. My wiring is still, a little bit messy. Most of my stuff here I reloomed with the nice stuff. The other things here I didn't put like the tray back in place. I got the tray here that normally goes here. There were a few things I'm like, I wanted to get some other stuff done and possibly reroute. I want to clean up my fan wiring. I had it much farther into the car, so I want to cut it all and shorten it up and maybe combine it or put a larger relay on it. I haven't decided yet, so I just made a ball of everything and I put one of those temporary clamps on. Man, I love these things. Dare I say that this is my new favorite other than wire nuts. I had a guy send me outdoor LED like parking lamp lights, like actually for a parking, like for a supermarket. Gigantic LEDs you'd put up, and he sent me those. That's what they wire the insides with, and you just clamp them together. Man, they're really nice. They even come in, he sent me, there's those are two, and there's some that have 4, 5, 6 in a row. So you can tie stuff together, test it, make sure it works, and then do your final wiring. So I have all that sorted, and I got a X-Max kit from Holley. I was like, hey guys, I would love to. I'm struggling with my Gen 4 ECU here. Like I said in the other video, I had it driving. Everything was very good. Startup, drive, whatnot. I felt like there was always sometimes I didn't have the throttle response I wanted. Sometimes it felt like the pedal was dead. Sometimes I couldn't get the fueling I wanted. I tried doing mass air meter. I tried doing a drop-in meter. I tried changing the intake setup. I tried doing speed density. I tried a lot of stuff, and I was just unhappy with it. I knew I could make it run better. So every time I would drive it, even though it was very good, I was annoyed that it wasn't exactly how I thought it could be. So the one night, like I said, I didn't video it. Spontaneously, I ripped everything out and I put the Holley in, and I only had about 2 hours into it. And then the next following day, I just did some of the wiring. So I had about 3 hours into the whole swap. It only took me 3 hours to remove the entirety of the LOJ harness, the E38, all of the custom wiring and whatnot. And the goal here, yes, it's 90% functional right now. It doesn't have air conditioning working or the TAC or the factory coolant thing in the dash. So it's missing some of the dash functionality. And obviously the HVAC doesn't work. It's not turned on, which isn't too important because it's cold out. So really all I want this car is to have AC and stuff in the summer. LOJ and I are going to be working on, Steven at LOJ. I like to just say LOJ because if I say Steven, you guys might not know what I'm talking about. So this is the Terminator laying on the floor right now till I get everything sorted. And then this is what came on the stock ECU harness. It's a CAN bus translator made by Steven at LOJ. It takes the necessary Nissan things and it converts them to necessary Chevy things for functionality back and forth between like the Nissan drive-by-wire pedal and the Chevy drive-by-wire throttle and the HVAC. So it makes sure the HVAC works. It fills all the gaps. So he's going to develop, and already partially has developed, a Holley to Nissan CAN bus conversion system. And also he has already figured out the wiring for the drive-by-wire. So this car is using the Nissan drive-by-wire pedal, stock pedal. So all the pedal heights are the same. That was one thing we wanted. Just in case I had purchased over there, I have a stock LS2 or LS3, unsure. And then that's like a GM Performance Parts pedal that Holley recommends. But there are some wiring secrets, which are LOJ trade secrets, where you can plug, he's going to make a plug-and-play harness that plugs into the Holley drive-by-wire harness so you can retain the Nissan stuff. I'm sure he's going to... Okay, so I believe I was explaining LOJ is going to make a plug and play setup so you can retain the air conditioning and all the working factory HVAC and everything else on the, mine is a CAN bus car. The earlier ones, I don't know the whole deal with that. I'm assuming they don't have as much going on with the CAN bus system. I think they work fine most of the time as is. I know a bunch of people, I've tuned a bunch with the older ECU Gen 3 like P59, PL1, and they have most of their functionality. I think they only need to do like a Dakota digital speedometer thing. This car has ABS rings and it inputs the speed based off the wheel speed sensors, and none of those are modified in this swap, so the vehicle speed works fine and the gas gauge works and that stuff works fine also. So it'll only be a few small things between his plug and play wiring harness. I did the drive-by-wire stuff he told me to do, and that works. And I did the starter stuff he told me to do. My starter works like stock. As you can see, I get in the car, start it, run it, drive it. I'm just missing my HVAC controls and the tach, but that's all easily solvable things, just not done yet. See, what was going to happen is Steven at LOJ was going to create a plug-and-play piece for me with the Holley, and I was going to do the swap all at once, but I was getting so annoyed, and just the one night I was like, well, this car's done, we're just waiting for a non-rainy, super cold day at the track. We got the chute and everything else. This thing's ready to go. It made 750 to the tire a whole number of times. She seems like she's safe now, but that's a whole second update. I was like, well, I like this car. I want to drive this car. I'm unhappy with how it drives. I'm going to swap to the Holley. You know, so it only took me 3 hours max. I had it in, working, functional. Everything was good. The only things, like I said, I had to do was wire the Holley harness into the Nissan connector for the Nissan drive-by-wire. And luckily that all worked out, because they tell you absolutely do not cut or modify their harness. They do not warranty or want you to use anything but certified pedals, I'm sure for liability reasons. So took a gamble on that. That's all fine. Don't have to worry about it. That would all be my fault. I physically modified it. The other thing that I want to change, I think I'm going to put it on the dyno. I'm out of fuel. I put since the Holley has a input for oil pressure, I have a stock oil pressure sending unit from like a Corvette that plugs right into the TPS style plug in the Holley, and the oil pressure sensor is back there. So that plugged right in, and then I knew I had a fuel flow problem. So what's bad to do, I asked about this the other day and I got numerous ridiculous posts on Sloppy. I don't know what I expected. Some people posted helpful things, but they posted a 4AN to 1/8 inch adapter and they proposed that I put the sending unit on that. Well, that would put the sending unit like up here. And then also I've done it before for nitrous kits where we've put stuff on here, and what it does is it vibration fractures the fuel thing off. So you have to do like, I had this stuff laying around, 4AN, and I had enough of these laying around to adapt it to 1/8 inch. What I'd like to do is get like a nitrous line or a brake line or something that's a 90 and a straight. I found them a bunch of places. I just got to figure out what I want to do. So it would be much cleaner, and it would have a 90 and it would be soft mounted so it can't vibrate loose. Another awesome thing is War Performance, that box they sent me of connectors. I used extension again for fuel pressure to go all the way around and plug into my Holley fuel pressure sensor. And then they also sent this guy here, the map sensor. I can't find the plug. Here it is. They sent a map sensor adapter, which I was like, oh, I got to cut my thing to fit my LSA 2.5 bar here. Well, they sent the Gen 3 to Gen 4 conversion plug. So I didn't have to extend this, and I didn't have to swap my plug. I just plugged in their like 1-foot adapter for the LSA map sensor. So hats off to them again. I ended up using their stuff more and more. I think it's in the teens money-wise for the extensions and adapters. The big thing to me here is not cutting up the Holley harness. It's nice to have these tiny things to make these differences. Someone like me, I might swap my map sensor back and forth, so cutting the connector off doesn't seem like the smartest thing to do. And installing multiple connectors and leaving the leads open, I don't really want to do either. So other than that, it's pretty much fully functional. One thing I might want to play with is like pulse width modulated fan, or like I said, replace the fan wiring. I just don't know what I want to do with it yet, so I'm leaving it ugly. It's fine. It's all in its own little safe, hazardous wiring bay. You close the hood and it's all segmented. The other thing, like I said, I'm running a AEM 340 LPH in-tank pump, I believe. And with this much power on E85, it is certainly at its limits. I was really running out of fuel. One of the viewers that watches my channel sent me a booster pump. It's tucked down in here. So I installed the booster pump, and that's what this guy is. It's a 5-pound switch for the booster pump. It bumps the voltage to like 17 or 18 volts. It adds 5 volts. So this thing runs at like 14 volts. So it bumps it 5 volts. I think at times it has touched 19 when I've bench tested it. It's hard to tell if it's hitting that kind of voltage in the car. It obviously helped, but it's still at its limit. Now that I'm logging fuel pressure, I actually thought it would be worse, but my fuel pressure starts at 58 and it drops to like 42 pounds, but it does maintain that. But my injector duty cycle starts to run away. I should have plenty for it, but it's obvious that I'm suffering some fuel flow issues. So next for this, I'd like to see, Holley has a series of brushless pumps, because there is, as Steven at LOJ has told me a few times, the basket in this car is very funny because it has a Venturi vacuum style tube that pumps from the saddle from the other side. It's not electronic. So if you put like a Wally 450 in there, it screws everything up. You have to cut the bucket up and then it doesn't work. Something gets broken. So you have to do like a custom tank. There's plenty of people that do custom double pump hats and you can switch them on and off. What I'm most interested in is the brushless. I've done some testing with it already, but I've done my base testing with this. I'd love to put their brushless in. It has 2 different speeds. It's kind of nice for returnless. You don't have to run it as hard all the time, especially if you have the Holley ECU and you have the Holley brushless pump. You can control the speeds of the pump. You don't have to turn it on 100% all the time. It's demand or whatever you want to do. So very interested in testing that. The pump is physically small. It'll fit in the stock basket and not give us any Venturi saddle tank woes. You'd be able to use this car normally, which is important to me. You can do all sorts of stuff with the pumps. Some people even open the other hat and put dual pumps in, but then he was saying like you have to run half to 3/4 tank all the time or you'll run into issues or run a pump dry, all sorts of issues. So it would be really neat to see the brushless drop in without problem, give me plenty of fuel flow, because the other maybe not thing that might happen is I'd like to have enough overhead on fuel since I'm out to possibly port the blower or keep running the stock blower and add a little whiff of nitrous to the throttle inlet, either with like a plate or a nozzle. It'd be really cool to do a plate dry and watch our fuel and everything else. It would be neat to spray a 50 or 100 on top of the blower. It would make tons more torque and horsepower than the rated naturally aspirated jetting. So, whew, it's a lot of goals for now. It's a lot of stuff I want to change and see how it does. I am way happier with how it drives on the Holley. No one's paying me to say that. I couldn't wait to install it and use it. As you can see from me driving it and smashing 4th gear and spinning them off, I love it. It's much more fun now. The only thing that this car is dying for is it definitely needs brakes. It's a base model G, and these were kind of warped when I got it. And from all the 140 stops, they are whooped. The car stops, yeah, but it is almost going to rattle the wheel out of your hands. I have sufficiently destroyed the rotors from high-speed stops. So I was asking on Sloppy, again, got a lot of miserable responses, but some very good ones. And one of the guys on there has his own shop where he sells the Brembo upgrades for this car and the 350Z. He sells you, I'd have to look it up, maybe I can throw it in the description if you guys are interested. I would gladly show you his kit. Maybe I'll post it after. I'll do a video where I install it and I'll let you know what I think. But it's a retrofit kit. It's the larger rotors. It's the Brembo calipers. It's a retrofit banjo because apparently this one bottoms out or doesn't fit or isn't long enough. There's a whole thing with that. And it's pads. So you can literally buy his kit and throw them on. So I can't wait to do that because these rotors are whooped. A lot of people said like the rear brakes aren't really doing a whole lot, so it's not as important. I had asked, I said, hey guys, I have these Brembos from a Genesis. So those are the fronts and those are the backs. A lot of people reached out and said they would build me custom brackets, but I'm kind of interested in just a bolt-on kit. Because this car, I don't want to take it down for a long time. We drive it all the time, honestly. So that's what's coming down the pipe. That's what I want to do. It'd be cool, I think, to do the brushless pump testing, then maybe spray her a little bit. I thought about getting this blower ported, but if you guys have seen, Kong Performance has released 2650 rotors, TVS rotors that go, he sells a drop-in LSA with 2650 rotors. So I foresee the prices for ported blowers possibly coming down or them becoming more available at a decent price. Part of me would rather maybe just swap the blower and sell the unported one instead of taking this off, putting the car down for a long time, getting the blower ported, getting it back, that whole thing. It's all, or maybe get the 2650. I don't think I want to do that with this. It already makes a crazy amount of power. I think it's almost perfect as is for how ridiculous it is and how nice it can drive and how crazy it can be. It's nice having both. So that's why I'm thinking it'd be neat to maybe just do the small shot of nitrous for when it's super hot out or performance might be lacking, or just to make some cool dyno numbers. Of course, just stacking the power adders, spray a little bit of nitrous on top. I just think it'd be fun to show because the Holley can control the nitrous and the blower and the second pump and the 2-stage brushless and yada, 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 yada. So it would be neat to showcase all of that, show you how easy it is with the system, have the fuel flow, overhead, blah, blah, blah. So that's where we're at. I don't think I can really say much else. Go ahead and fire your questions away. Let me know.